Lucy Reyes, and I help solopreneurs simplify their systems, specifically using Trello, so that way you can grow your business without getting bogged down in all of the busy work and staying stuck, missing client projects, not getting things done. So I'm here to help you out with that. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Trello checklists the right way, not just how to add them, but how to set them up strategically so that way you never miss a step in your projects. And if you want even more time-saving hacks, I've got a free guide with 9 hacks I use every single week, actually every single day, that saved me hours in my own business. So you can grab it down at the link below. But first, let's start with why checklists even matter, because this is one of the features that I see so many entrepreneurs not using to their advantage, and it blows my mind because it's such a simple feature that not only helps track your progress, but boost your motivation with getting the things that you need to get done. Because let's be real, if this project is super big, it's gonna feel overwhelming, especially when you haven't broken down the individual tasks into smaller pieces. And that's what these checklists help you do. So for example, if you are recording a YouTube video like I'm doing right now, you might have just one task that says record YouTube video or prepare YouTube video, record it, and then promote it. Each one of those steps includes so many other things, right? To prepare for this YouTube video, I already had to do some research on the keywords. I already had to write the description. I had to decide the title. There's so many smaller steps, right? And we're not giving ourselves enough credit. We are not giving ourselves enough credit for all of the little tasks that we get done. So we really want to take advantage of using checklists to help us break down those bigger tasks into smaller bite-sized action ones, okay? And this really helps you avoid dropping the ball on a lot of things too, because if you're just thinking like, oh, I just have to prepare this YouTube video, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? This is what happens whenever you start getting ready to promote the video and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot to write the description. Oh yeah, I forgot to figure out what tags to add. Like, this is where that comes in, because you haven't written down in advance all of the smaller steps because you don't have a real system on how to even keep track of them. So checklists are going to help you with that. So let's dive into Trello and actually go through how to use checklists in your business. All right, so let's go through how to exactly create and use a checklist inside of Trello. So we're inside of this Trello board and we're going to use a podcast episode workflow as the example. So we're going to pretend that we are working on this episode topic and we want to break down these tasks for the pre-recording session, or for whenever we are getting ready to record the episode. So we're going to create a checklist called pre-recording tasks. And I really highly want to take a pause here, because whenever you're naming these checklists, let me go back. It automatically names it for you as checklist. So if you click checklist, it's going to automatically give you the topic of checklist. And one mistake that I see happen so often is you leave it. You leave it, you add it, and now you have a bunch of checklists on your board called checklist. And when you do this, it doesn't serve a purpose. Like, this checklist doesn't really have a purpose. Like, I could add anything random here. Versus if you come in here, you can actually rename it from here as well, and you give it a purpose. So pre-recording tasks. Now you can streamline these checklist items to be just for the pre-recording portion of the episode workflow process, right? So something that you can do up here is you can rename the checklist, and if you wanted, you could copy items from another checklist on the same board. Just be careful, because if you have several with the same checklist name, then it's going to copy it exactly from that card. So this is the Trello card title, this is the checklist title. So just be careful when you do that. It's not something that I recommend often, and if you do want something like that, then I recommend creating like template checklist, okay? But that is a whole different thing for a whole nother video. So for right now, label your checklist with a very specific title. So here is a checklist now created. Now you can start adding items to this checklist. And what I recommend that you do is, for whatever task this is, right? So again, we're pretending like we're creating a workflow for an episode, and we're creating a checklist for all of the items that we need to do before we even record. Hence, the pre-recording task title. So now what you're going to do is you're going to do a brain dump. You're just going to think about all of the different tasks involved with pre-recording. So it can be something like decide the title or topic. Maybe you're doing some keyword research. Let's actually do, I like to make these as like verbs too. So do keyword research, write outline. And we're going to stop there. So let's say this is how you brain dumped it. As you can see, you can literally just reorganize it by holding down on the item and dragging it where it needs to go. So this is the appropriate order, and this is what I'm going to do. If you are on a paid plan, then you get a few extra features that you can use. So if you wanted to say, I want to write this outline by September 23rd, then you could assign yourself that specific checklist item task. So instead of just assigning due dates at the card level, you unlock the ability to assign tasks at the checklist item level. So we could go here, make sure you set a reminder if you want to be notified, and then go ahead and save it. And then again, make sure to add yourself as a member if you want to be notified. There's a whole nother video on due dates and notifications, so I'm not going to dive into that here. But if you want to make sure that you are getting this little notification in this top corner, then add yourself as a member. So the other thing you could do is, let's say you get to this write outline portion and you are like, this is actually a bigger task. Because now I'm breaking things down and now I'm like, wait, writing an outline is actually going to involve other steps. Well, then you can come in here and convert it into a card. So we're going to convert this into a card. It removes it from this checklist here and it added it over here. So if it has a date and a member, then it copies that over as well. But it doesn't copy over the set due date reminder. So you will have to set that part again. But it copied it over and it turned it into its own checklist, which is great, right? So now we can come in here, create a new checklist and break it down even more. Another thing that you can do is you can have multiple checklists in one card. So we could also do pre-recording tasks. We could say post-recording tasks. I don't want to copy items over. And then you can go ahead and go through this, right? So we're just going to do a bunch of letters for time's sake. And now you have multiple checklists. You can have more than two. You can have multiple checklists on your same card. And what I love about this breakdown is as you start to work through these tasks, when you start to click through them, you get this little progress bar at the top that helps you stay motivated. Because something that we do as entrepreneurs, as business owner, as anyone who's juggling so many different responsibilities, we don't give ourselves enough credit for the process, and we only give ourselves credit when we achieve the final outcome. So in this example, we only celebrate when we have finally published that podcast episode. But we don't give ourselves credit for all of the dozens of tasks that we had to do before getting to that point. And that's another reason why I love using checklists, because it's not just a way to keep track of progress, but it's also a motivating factor. Like here, I know I've done 50% of the pre-recording task. I'm there. And it's just so satisfying to click things off. Like I am definitely a to-do list girl. I love checking things off the list, and checklists allow you to do that. And then you can come in here and see that something has been done all the way by this little green marker. You can also hide checklist items. So as you are getting things done, you can choose to hide them to keep your card nice and clean. So that's something that you can do as well. So this is how I really recommend that you use checklist. But there is another way that I use checklists that isn't specifically for task tracking. So something that I like to include in several of my boards is like this board notes. This is where I'll link out to like different types of links depending on what the board's purpose is for. So let's pretend I have, I want easy access to my website for this, for whatever reason. So I can come in here, I'm just gonna copy that, and I just use it as like a running list, not necessarily to check things off, but just as a list. If you wanted it to look a little bit neater, this is the hyperlink code that you would use. And then instead of seeing it like this, sometimes for other websites, it may show nothing at all. It might just show the link itself. So it looks a little cluttery sometimes. So if you want to get this a little neater version of it, then you'll add the brackets in between the parentheses. So I'm gonna leave that there so you can see it. And that's how you can use the checklist items as well for not just keeping track of your progress, but for just a list in general. So now you have learned how to use checklists in Trello for your business, not just to help you keep track of progress, but to help you stay motivated, and also another little idea on how to use checklist as a list as well. Now, if you want even more time-saving hacks that I use in my business every single day using Trello specifically, then be sure to grab my free guide down below where I give you a few extra hacks, including some automation ones and some other little fun ones that you may not know about. So be sure to grab that guide down below, and be sure to subscribe to my channel so that way you don't miss when the next Trello tutorial drops. All right, I'll see you in the next video.